Have you ever looked at a beautiful piece of furniture and thought, I wish I could make that? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the craft of woodworking. We're talking about how to take a simple piece of wood and turn it into something amazing, all with your own two hands. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's just soak this in for a second. Woodworking, it's not just about the finished product, right? It's about the feeling of it. The smell of fresh-cut pine, the sound of a sharp blade slicing through wood, and, oh yeah, the purest satisfaction of seeing that perfect ribbon-like shaving curl up from your plane. It's a craft that gets all your senses involved. And there's a reason this all feels so fundamental. It's because it is. I mean, think about it. Wood has been our silent partner for thousands of years. From the first shelters we built to the most incredible instruments and furniture, this material is just woven into the fabric of human history. So when you start working with wood, you're not just making a thing. You're tapping into a tradition that's ancient and deep. Okay, let's get practical. To get started on this journey, you're going to need two things: a place to work, and of course, some tools. So let's talk about what you really need for your essential toolkit. But hang on, before we even talk about a single saw or a plane or a chisel, let's get one thing crystal clear. Your very first, your most important, and your absolutely non-negotiable tool is a serious commitment to safety. Seriously. None of the other tools matter if you can't use them safely. You know, the risks really change depending on the tool in your hand. With simple hand tools, the danger is pretty obvious. You can cut yourself. So keeping blades sharp and covered is rule number one. But then you plug something in, and power tools add speed, which means you've got flying debris to worry about. And machine tools? Whoa, that's a whole other level. You've got forces like kickback, which can literally throw a piece of wood back at you with incredible violence. The main takeaway here is simple. Respect the tool and understand the specific dangers it brings to the table. Okay, so when you're ready to actually buy some tools, you hit your first big fork in the road. Hand tools versus power tools. Look, hand tools are your best friend when you're starting out. They're way cheaper, you don't need a huge workshop, and, this is key, they really teach you to feel the wood and understand how it behaves. Power tools are fast and efficient, no doubt, but they're a big investment. Honestly, ask any seasoned woodworker and they'll probably tell you the same thing. Learn the hand tools first. The skills you build there are the bedrock for everything else. So, what does a good starter kit actually look like? Well, it's probably simpler than you think. It really comes down to three basic jobs. First up, measuring and marking. You got to be precise, so a good ruler and a tri-square are must-haves. Then, cutting. You'll want a panel saw for making big cuts and a tenon saw, which has a stiff spine for smaller, more accurate work like joints. And finally, shaping. A jack plane is for making rough wood smooth, chisels are for all the detail work, and an oil stone is absolutely crucial for keeping all your blades razor sharp. All right, so you've got your tools. Now, what do you actually do with them? Well, believe it or not, the entire vast craft of woodworking can be boiled down to just 4 basic actions. This is it. This is the secret sauce. Every single project, I don't care if it's a simple little box or a giant ornate wardrobe, it's just a sequence of these 4 things. Repeated over and over with skill. You measure accurately, you cut cleanly, you shape the pieces perfectly, and you join them together strongly. You master these 4 actions, and you can literally build anything you can imagine. Let's zoom in on that last one for a second. Joining. This is where craftsmanship really shines. And a perfect example, one of the oldest and strongest joints out there, is the mortise-and-tenon. Think of it like this. You're creating a custom-fit puzzle. A little tongue of wood, the tenon, fits perfectly into a slot, the mortise. It's a mechanical lock, which makes it way stronger than just relying on glue alone. And making one is all about precision. First, you carefully mark out the exact location of that mortise, or the slot. Then, you remove the wood inside that box. That's your hole. Next, you cut the tenon on the other piece of wood to the exact same dimensions. And then comes the moment of truth, testing the fit. When it slides together snug and tight, oh, that's a beautiful thing. That's a rock-solid joint. And here's the really cool part. When you learn a skill like cutting a mortise and tenon joint, you're doing something that woodworkers have done for centuries, millennia even. Yeah, sure, our tools are made of better steel now, but the fundamental actions, the skills themselves, they are timeless. You're connecting with a very, very old human story. Okay, we've got the tools, we understand the core techniques. Now for the really fun part, the payoff. What can you actually build with all this knowledge? And I want you to remember this. Don't ever be intimidated by some big, beautiful, complex piece of furniture. It wasn't just magically created in one go. It was built one small, manageable step at a time. It's just the sum of all those fundamental techniques: measure, cut, shape, join, executed with care over and over again. So, a fantastic first project is a cutting board. Why? Because it's all about mastering the basics. It forces you to make perfectly straight, square cuts, and it teaches you how to use a plane to get a surface that's as smooth as glass. It seems simple, but the skills you learn are immense. Once you've got flat and square down, it's time to start assembling things. A project like a wine rack is a perfect next step because it introduces basic joinery. You'll have to drill really precise holes again and again and use dowels to build a structure that's strong and stable. Feeling a bit more confident? Good. Let's tackle a bookcase. This is where you learn to build a carcass. That's just the woodworker's term for the main box of a piece of furniture. And because it needs to hold a lot of weight, you'll need to use bigger, stronger joints, like that awesome wedged mortise-and-tenon we talked about, to make sure it stays solid for decades. And finally, the chair. You could say a chair is the ultimate test of a woodworker's skill. It brings everything together. You need strong joinery to support a person's weight, but you also need subtle curves and shaping for comfort. You have to understand angles and forces. To build a good, solid, beautiful chair is to truly show you've mastered the craft. So there it is. The path is pretty clear, from a simple board all the way to an heirloom piece of furniture. It all just starts with that first pencil mark, that first cut. The tools are waiting. The techniques are timeless. The only thing missing from the picture is you. So let me ask you, what will you create